is up, you guys? My name is Nate the Effing Great, and welcome to another edition of Pro Talk Wrestling here as part of the Game Changer Network. It is time to talk about another week of wrestling, as well as give my predictions for the Elimination Chamber event that will be taking place this Sunday, live, of course, on the WWE Network as well as on pay-per-view. I'm actually going to do things a little bit differently here because a lot of people definitely already talk about what goes on, show by show by show by show. So I think I'm going to change the format up just a little bit and only talk about some of the major highlights as far as this week goes. So let's just dive right into it, you guys. Let's talk about, first of all, this whole deal that's going on with Becky Lynch. So for those of you that need to be caught up to speed, I didn't discuss this last week. I'll give my thoughts on that as well as talk about this week. So Becky Lynch was invited to come to Raw by Stephanie McMahon to basically be told, go see a doctor, go see a doctor. Becky Lynch refuses. There's been a lot of people that have said that that's kind of storyline stupidity because it kind of makes Becky Lynch seem kind of dumb, and the fans look kind of dumb too when they're basically saying, no, don't go see a doctor, no, 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 no. And then Stephanie McMahon would go on to suspend Becky Lynch, in which Becky Lynch basically decided to knock down Steph, try to lock in the disarm her, but Stephanie McMahon was able to get away. The following night on SmackDown, Triple H tries to basically talk to Becky Lynch, tries to basically be that, I don't know if I would say voice of reason, but definitely somebody who basically wants to give a news flash to Becky Lynch, in which she slaps Triple H in the face. This past week on Monday Night Raw, basically we found out that, hey, Becky Lynch is fine, she's totally fine. But Triple H and Stephanie do not approve of this. They basically want Becky to apologize at the end of the night. So it kicks off with Becky and it ends with Becky. Love Monday Night Raw. So during the entire event, we actually see a bit of an interesting deal in which we have a lot of superstars, including Finn Balor and Alexa Bliss, actually talk to Becky Lynch and tell her, their thoughts on it as well as what to do. It's kind of an interesting contrast and dynamic here because when I look at it, I think to myself, you got Finn Balor, who basically helped train Becky Lynch, telling her, basically to, swallow your pride, definitely say, probably just say you're sorry for getting a little too overzealous. Alexa Bliss was a bit of a surprise, actually, where she basically says you shouldn't apologize, that you represent a lot of the women. It seemed like Becky Lynch was seeing right through her, but at the same time, it's one of those situations where I was not exactly sure if this was something that, would go with, Alexa Bliss's character, because from her facial reactions to the way that her tone was, I didn't really know. It was one of those things where it was really weird if she was being genuine or if she was actually being that, legitimate, heartless woman that she normally can be. But either way, it was kind of interesting, and I kind of liked it. It was kind of cool. So we have the final deal on Raw where basically Becky Lynch comes out, she swallows her pride, takes that sour pill, and apologizes to Triple H, to Stephanie, but also says that nothing should get in my way now because it doesn't matter who. And now that I say I apologize, I have a clear path. That's it. There should be no strings attached. And we had a string attached because Vince McMahon, he comes out, he's just like, I don't accept your apology, Becky. I don't accept it at all. Therefore, you're suspended for 60 days, which means you're going to miss WrestleMania, which means we need to have somebody take over for your spot at WrestleMania, which means I'm going to pick Charlotte Flair with really no, reasoning behind it, but I think as the storyline goes, we're going to find out why he did that. And there's a crazy fan theory that ties in Ric Flair to the situation, and it's going to be interesting because Ric Flair's celebrating his birthday in about a week and a half now, so you got to believe that Becky Lynch is going to play into that celebration somehow. And going to get Charlotte Flair maybe to have a matchup with her at Fastlane to give her spot. Or maybe it's just a situation where Becky Lynch gets added to the match. Who knows? Who knows at this point? But Charlotte has been on just the top of her game when it comes to responding to all the naysayers and all the critics, all the people that are saying, oh no, we don't want to see Charlotte in the main event of WrestleMania. We don't want to see that. No, no, no. There was even a point where she just said, like, oh, well, I guess since you say that, I should just take myself out of the ring. Just kidding, I don't care. Oh my gosh, this is probably some of Charlotte's finest work as a heel. She is getting monumental heat. She's definitely being one of the most hated wrestlers in WWE right now. Honestly, if Roman Reigns was still working right now, I think that she would be beating him in boos right now. I mean, I'm just being that serious. She's not quite to, Vicky Guerrero heat or Baron Corbin heat, which, trust me, we'll talk about him in just a bit. But she definitely is getting heat for all this, stuff that she's saying, and I like it. It's one of those things where it's like, okay, now we got somebody who we genuinely do not like, and it kind of feels like the corporation deal again, where Vince has his hand-picked, contender to take the title, and they're basically combating against the fan favorite being Becky Lynch. So it's going to be awesome to see how they kind of make things go. And it's the pieces are going to start to fall into place at Elimination Chamber this Sunday. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be awesome. All right, so another thing that happened on Raw was that we finally got new Raw Tag Team Champions in the Revival. I want to be more excited for them. I'm happy for them. Congratulations, Dash Wilder, and Scott Dawson, I should say. They both deserved the titles sooner than what they should have had. I'm very disappointed in the fact that it took them this long to take those belts and put them on the Revival. It's kind of one of those situations where it felt really lukewarm when they reached that point. It irritates me. It's kind of one of those things where it's like, if they would have had Revival getting screwed over, in title opportunity deals, that may have worked. Because when they kept on doing, here's a title match, here's a title match, here's a title match, and you kind of got the same screwy kind of finish, it takes away from that victory. When you have them basically getting screwed for opportunity after opportunity after opportunity, then people are going to want to get behind them more. And then when they win the tag team titles, it's like, yes, all this crap for this great moment. That's just my opinion on that. Trying to think what else we had here. SmackDown had a gauntlet match in which we determined who would go to face who would be the final member of the Elimination Chamber for the WWE title, in which it was won by Randy Orton, but Kofi Kingston filling in for Mustafa Ali because he's out with injuries. He basically killed he killed it. He stole the show. A guy who basically went almost about an hour's worth definitely just absolutely upped his game. A lot of people remember him when he was battling Randy Orton and some of these other contenders. And he finally gets this showcase here where he beats, I believe it was, I think he defeated Daniel Bryan, if I'm not mistaken, as well as, I'm trying to remember who else he might have defeated. It might have been Jeff Hardy. Either way, it just boiled down to what was a great series of matches. In the end, Randy Orton would pick up the victory by RKOing AJ Styles in the final two for the 1-2-3. So Randy Orton will be the final member of the Elimination Chamber, and that's kind of all that I can discuss as far as WWE related. Well, before I even do that, I will also mention this, that there was a report that Jimmy Uso got arrested for basically confronting the police. It's one of those really hazy kind of stories, and I haven't really gotten a chance to read the full details on them, but apparently it seems like, he got pulled over by the police and he confronted them, and honestly it's one of those things where it's like, dude, you don't do that, because you will be arrested by them. And I think that's going to hurt their chances on Sunday. I really do. So now let's go into talking about the All-In 2 event, Double or Nothing. Obviously, Double or Nothing has definitely had a lot of talk. There's a lot of great matches that are going to be involved, including Kenny Omega versus Chris Jericho 2. We have Hangman Page versus Pac. The Lucha Brothers taking on the Young Bucks. And guys, they sold out in about 25 minutes. That's saying a lot. That's 5 minutes less than when it came to Chicago. That is saying a lot. Holy mackerel. You just look at everything that they have accomplished, and it tells you that they are definitely here to stay. I'm going to check right now to see if there's any other matches that are involved here. Okay, I'm looking like... Okay, so let's see here. We got a 6-man tag here. SoCal Uncensored will be in action. We have a triple threat match for the women, in which we have Britt Baker, Nyla Rose, and Kylie Ray involved. Also, it looks like Cody is going to be competing in that night. Whoever he might be facing, I don't know, but it's going to be absolutely insane who, fights off against him. But, guys, I'm going to actually do this really quick. I'm going to go through the list of people who have been signed by AEW, and I want you to kind of just soak this in. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about a major player who's going to be involved in the StarCast 2 deal. So, first I'll talk about, like I said, the roster that they have so far are comprised of Chris Jericho, Christopher Daniels, Chuck Taylor, I believe it's Sema, it might be Kaima, I'm trying to remember exactly who the name. We have Cody, Frankie Kazarian, Hangman Page, Jimmy Havoc, Joey Janela, Jungle Boy, Kenny Omega, Matt Jackson, MJF, Nick Jackson, Pac, Cero Miedo, Penta El Zero M, Ray Phoenix, Sammy Guevara, Scorpio Sky, Sonny Kiss, and Trent Beretta. Jeez, that is a huge list of, men roster. Holy crap. But then we go into the women's, and we got Aja Kong, Brandy Rhodes, Dr. Britt Baker, Kylie Ray, Nyla Rose, Penelope Ford, and Yuka Sakazakai? I'm sorry, I do apologize. I'm trying to get the name right here. Sakazaki, I believe it is. Yeah, honestly, you guys, it's going to be... AEW is definitely shooting a lot of fire, shooting a lot of shots right now. And one of the biggest shots that they fired is this huge announcement of who they have for StarCast 2, and that being The Undertaker. Now, it might be promoted as Mark Calloway, formerly known as The Undertaker, something like that. I've heard a lot of rumors that have been stating that Undertaker might not be wrestling at WrestleMania. His contract might have already expired. He might be done completely as a wrestler. It's just really interesting hearing these rumors, because you also have to figure that they talked about having Undertaker versus Finn Balor, which is a matchup that we wanted for so long. Even talks of having, Styles versus Taker. A lot of these younger guys who it could be easy to work with Taker and really make it easy for him to still look good, but also elevate these guys. I really would love to see Undertaker wrestle one more time at WrestleMania. And I want that to be, kind of the be-all, end-all deal, where it's finally over. But I will say this, that if he is officially retired, I can honestly say that I can't blame him. It's one of those things where he's wrestled so many times and he's given his body so much for this company that it's hard for me to say that, I 100% am behind the idea of him wrestling again. If he is, at the point where he should, not even wrestle anymore, if even medical staff are saying that he shouldn't wrestle anymore, then by honestly, just, right off into the sunset. I would honestly still love to see him, headline the Hall of Fame. I think that's probably going to be what will happen at this year's WrestleMania. It's either going to be between him and The Rock. I do believe that. But I have a little bit of time before I go into my Elimination Chamber predictions. I'm going to go through some ideas of who should be inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame, at least within the next couple of years. So one person that definitely does deserve to be in the Hall of Fame is indeed The Rock. Another person definitely deserves to be The Undertaker. I would honestly make the case that Triple H should be inducted into the Hall of Fame very soon. At this point, I think that Triple H needs to, hang his boots, call it a day, call it a career right now. And I would honestly have him taking on a young gun, put him over, and really, go out on top as indeed the best and look like he is the best. So maybe that was a contradicting deal. Just, have this young guy go out on top, but also have Triple H still look like $1 million. I think that's a better way of putting it. Honestly, even though this would be very tough to do, I would love to see the New Age Outlaws be inducted into the Hall of Fame because they are indeed one of the tag teams that sparked a revolution in the tag team division, especially in the Attitude Era. I mean, you look at all the crazy stuff that they did with DX, as well as all the stuff that they did with, Mankind and The Undertaker and Kane and with, the Rock and Sock Connection. There are just so many great matches that the New Age Outlaws have created that definitely say that, hey, they deserve this spot in the Hall of Fame. I think long overdue right now is indeed China. I know that Triple H mentioned the whole deal of, her past, her background, but here's the thing about that, is that Sunny is one of those people that I look at and I think to myself, she's the last person that I think deserves to be in the WWE Hall of Fame. China definitely deserves it more. Yes, has China made mistakes? Of course she has. She's only human, though. But is that enough to tell me that she doesn't deserve to be in the WWE Hall of Fame? No. I think that she does deserve it. She deserves it because she's the only woman who really has showcased, that women can, wrestle the men, if not out-wrestle them, in my opinion. I mean, she's a 2-time Intercontinental Champion. She was the first woman to be in the 30-man Royal Rumble, and she definitely continued to elevate the game for women as her career furthered in. So it's just academic at this point that she gets inducted into the Hall of Fame, and I don't care what these excuses are going to be. It just doesn't make any sense anymore to have this happen because you've had worse people put into the Hall of Fame. I'm not going to go through the laundry list, but you know who I'm talking about. Another person that definitely will be in the Hall of Fame sooner rather than later is going to be Jim the Animal Neidhart. I do believe that it was probably going to be a Hart Foundation deal, which I would be totally okay with. If they want to give Bret Hart maybe one more Hall of Fame ring, that'd be kind of cool, actually. I mean, then Ric Flair doesn't have to be the only one who says, yeah, I got 2 Hall of Fame rings. It's like, nope, now Bret Hart has them too. So that would be kind of cool. I'm trying to think of some other people who definitely have not been put into the Hall of Fame but definitely deserve it. As crazy as it sounds, I would induct the Hardy Boys into the Hall of Fame within the next year or two. I really would. I cannot see any other time that you would do that. And honestly, it'd be really cool to see them have that acceptance speech. Maybe Matt talks a little bit about, his broken gimmick. It just is one of those things that I think just needs to happen. One final person I would put into there would be Christian. This is a guy who has been overlooked for so long. He has elevated his game over the years, and he's definitely become a key player in WWE. I mean, Edge and Christian, you can't have the E without the C. So those are my thoughts on the Hall of Fame. All right, so let's get into the predictions for the Elimination Chamber event. So I actually have my Elimination Chamber deal I have with a bunch of people for predictions. We have this deal in which we have like a prediction card, but I also make like these other small stipulations and stuff like that to kind of, help the points be a little more decisive. Now, this was also going to be the time where I was going to be doing a prediction battle with Mr. Philium from Rant with Ant, but unfortunately he is unable to be here due to work. He told me that he's got a different job now, and that he is also, excuse me, he's barely had so much time. So obviously, I'm at, no hard feelings, Phil. Maybe there's another time that we can do this. So that means right now that, if I were to go into like the business sense, I could make the case that I defeated Philium, and I've basically defeated Demon Diva because, she hasn't really responded to my challenge that I've been making out since, like, Hell in the Cell. So, at this point, it's kind of like, you know what? I've beaten them both, so that means only one person remains, and that's going to be Mr. Rant with Ant this Sunday at WrestleMania. Not this Sunday at WrestleMania, but in a few months at WrestleMania, I should say. So, yeah, that's the one thing I'm looking forward to right now. That even though I don't get a chance to do these prediction battles with the people that I thought I was going to, the one constant right now is the fact that it's going to be the Game Changer versus Rant with Ant at WrestleMania. I'm looking forward to that. It's going to be awesome. And Ant, just bear this in mind. You're going down. I'm going to show you why I'm from Titletown. Booyah. All right. So with that being said, let's talk about Elimination Chamber and the card. So, first matchup on here is Braun Strowman versus Baron Corbin in a no DQ matchup. Only the second time that these two have battled in a singles match, because these other variations had them fighting handicap matches and all this weird stuff. Whatever. Yeah, I think right now that a lot of the rumors that are going around is that Drew McIntyre versus Braun Strowman is going to happen at WrestleMania. I think that in order to do that, Braun Strowman needs to get his momentum back. So, as much of a throwaway matchup as it is, I'm going to give it to Braun. Braun. So we have the handicap match for the Intercontinental title. Finn Balor challenges Bobby Lashley, but will also be joined by Lio Rush. One thing that I kind of enjoy was that Brian Zane, if you go check out his prediction deal, he kind of mentions how Lashley and Lio Rush are kind of like, they're kind of like Chester and Spike from the Looney Tunes, where there's this big, rough and tough dog, and this little dog, just hype it, just jumping around, but, yeah, everything like that. So, it's kind of one of those things where, I look at that and it's like, wow, that's very relatable. I think that they're going to build up to Balor winning the title off of Lashley soon, but not right now. I think that it's going to be Lashley versus Balor at WrestleMania for the Intercontinental title, and that's where we're going to get the Demon Balor. So I'm going with Lashley and Rush for this one. It's going to be shenanigans, but it is what it is. So the next matchup we have is the Raw Women's Championship. Ronda Rousey taking on Ruby Riott. I do believe that this matchup is going to be really good. It's going to further help Ruby Riott, progress her career and prove herself as a huge player in the women's division. And there's a lot of people are saying that, this is a throwaway matchup. You know what? I'm going to enjoy this throwaway matchup. I don't care what anybody says. I think it's going to be awesome. Even though I know Ronda Rousey, locking in her as my prediction, she's going to win, it's not going to matter. For me, I'm going to enjoy the matchup. I'm going to enjoy Ruby Riott, putting on a showcase of a matchup. There may come a point where you actually might think, holy crap, she might actually win this match. But, we already know how the outcome is going to be. But I think it's still going to be awesome. Alright, so we have the Cruiserweight Championship matchup. Buddy Murphy taking on Akira Tozawa. I will say this, that I do love the fact that Akira Tozawa mentioned the King of the Cruiserweights on 205 Live. That was one of those situations where it's like, oh wow, he brought up a fact, and he also brought up Neville without mentioning his name. That's kind of cool. But in the end, I do see Buddy Murphy holding the belt a bit longer. I think they're going to have to build up a strong babyface to take off of him. I highly doubt it's going to be Cedric Alexander. But I do think that it needs to be somebody very strong. Like, I wish it could have been Hideo Itami, but I know that he's going to be leaving. So it's kind of one of those situations where I'm like, damn it. Why couldn't we have just had good things? We had the SmackDown Live Tag Team title matchup in which we have McMiz, the McMiz Nuggets. Oh, jeez. I put that in my own head. I'm a horrible person. Taking on the Usos. Like I mentioned before, Jimmy Uso got arrested. This is one of those things where I think it's going to be a major punishment for them. I don't think it's going to be like a squash, but I do think it's going to be one of those things where if they had... if they had the idea of, Jimmy and Jay winning the titles, that went out the window. I do see Shane and Miz retaining. I will say that Shane McMahon pins Jimmy Uso, because that's kind of like one of our tiebreaker points there. All right, so let's talk about the Elimination Chamber matches. We have the first one, for the WWE Women's Tag Team Championship. I also love how Bryan Zane kind of put it as in like this incarnation of the Women's Championship. It's kind of one of those things where, they had a Women's Tag Team, championship beforehand, but obviously they decided that it was too many titles, so they retired them, but now they're bringing them back. This is awesome. This is slowly starting to build up that idea that, for the women at least, the brand split for them is coming to an end, which I'm okay with. I'm going to be honest. We have Nia Jax and Tamina taking on the Riot Squad, Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville. They'll be taking on the Iconics, the Boston Hug Connection, and Naomi and Carmella. So for this one, it's going to be interesting. I'm going to be going bottom to top of people who I think are least likely going to win, and at the last one will be my prediction on who is going to win it all. So at the bottom, I have Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville. Next up would be Naomi and Carmella. After that, I will be throwing the Iconics. Then we'll have Nia Jax and Tamina. Second runner-up would be Sasha Banks and Bayley. The winning team that I think deserves the title win here will be the Riot Squad. They are, honestly, in my opinion, the most established team. They have busted their asses for so many years since they came up. It's one of those things where I feel like it's the ultimate payoff for them. They deserve this win. They deserve this victory. I'm going with the Riot Squad. It might bite me in the ass, but at the same time, it's one of those things where I think that there's a really good story that needs to be told here. And, for all I know, gosh, I'm getting a little bit tired, but I'll be hitting the hay soon. But I can get through this. I just think that, having it put on either Sasha Banks and Bayley or Tamina and Nia Jax is too obvious right now, and they're not really exactly very well-established teams. So that's why I'm going more with the Riot Squad for this one. They're more established. I would have the final two be the Iconics versus the Riot Squad, because honestly, then I could say, hey, I called it. I wanted this to happen. That's just my opinion for that. All right. One more match. You got this. Okay, I'm awake. We have the WWE Championship match of Daniel Bryan, the new Daniel Bryan, I should say, defending his title against AJ Styles, Jeff Hardy, Randy Orton, Samoa Joe, and Kofi Kingston. Again, going back to the idea of, hey, this is the least likely going to win to most likely going to win. All right, so kicking off at the very bottom, we will have Randy Orton. I do not see Orton winning, even though he's going to be the final entrant. I just don't like the idea. Then I would have Jeff Hardy on there. It's one of those things where I would love to see Jeff Hardy in the main event, but maybe when he was younger and when I didn't worry about his safety, especially with his back, it just, oh man, Jeff, you just gotta take it easy, man. Then I would have Samoa Joe after that. Really love Samoa Joe, and I think he's going to be a WWE champion in the future, just not right now. Although he could turn babyface, and that would be kind of cool. Then we can get Bryan and Samoa Joe at WrestleMania. Oh my God, please, yes, please, and thank you. Number 3, I would have Kofi Kingston. I know a lot of people are definitely going on this kind of wave of momentum, like, oh, hey, it's going to be, Kofi Kingston. He's finally going to get that title push that he's been hoping to get for the longest time, but I just don't see it. I think that he could be a future champion. It's just right now they kind of just put him in as a substitute, and there's barely any times where you throw in a substitute and you think, oh, hey, they're going to win the title. I can't remember the last time that's happened. It's been a while, actually, now that I think about it. Anyway, number 2, I would have AJ Styles, and number 1 would be the new Daniel Bryan. I do believe that Daniel Bryan winning the matchup would, again, establish him more as a champion. I think that they are probably going to build up to a deal where Luke Harper returns, and maybe we have that 6-man tag match at Fastlane when it's Bryan, Harper, and Rowan against the New Day. I think that would actually be a really cool matchup, to be honest. Ultimately, if I had to book, who Daniel Bryan would face at WrestleMania, I would definitely say that it's going to be John Cena. I think that that's the most win-win situation that you can get out of this, because here's the way that I see it. You could have Daniel Bryan beat John Cena, which would be great for a lot of people, and then you can actually say that, Cena can't win every time at WrestleMania, and it's true. He wouldn't be able to, he can't say that he's won every time at WrestleMania. Last year he lost his quickest matchup against The Undertaker, and there's only been like a handful of times that he's actually lost, so you could have Daniel Bryan beat him then, or you could have Cena win at WrestleMania, get his 17th win, and I think that Daniel Bryan is over so much as a heel that people would actually embrace that. It's the rematch that a lot of people have wanted to see, and I think that it should definitely headline WrestleMania. Alright, so those are my predictions for Elimination Chamber. That has been another great edition of Pro Talk Wrestling. You know where to find me on Twitter at RealFNGame. You know how to give us a like on our Facebook fan page. Also listen to us on Spreaker.com as well as on iTunes, SoundCloud, YouTube, as well as on iHeartRadio. I've been Nate the Effing Great. Thank you for joining me here, you guys. And I will talk to you guys this Sunday after Elimination Chamber, when myself and Chad Knight will talk about Elimination Chamber and what we thought of the matches. Bye-bye!